Altitude. The cabin lights dimmed, casting a soft glow over the plush leather seats of Horizon Wings Flight 119 from Chicago to Seattle. Marcus Tate, a sharply dressed black man in his late 40s, settled into his first-class seat. His gray suit hugged his athletic frame, tailored to precision. A subtle glint of his platinum watch caught the overhead lights as he adjusted his tie with the grace of a man who had done it 1,000 times before. At 48, Marcus wasn't just another passenger. He was the CEO of Horizon Wings, the very airline whose cabin he now sat in. But he wasn't here in any official capacity. No media fanfare, no security detail, no press. Just him, a pair of noise-canceling headphones in his carry-on, and a quiet desire to observe how his empire treated the everyday flyer. A stealth check-in, done under a dummy name. That was his style, low-key, direct, efficient. He slipped his briefcase under the seat in front of him and let out a breath. The hum of conversation, the aroma of reheated gourmet meals, the whir of the air Vincent was familiar. Almost comforting. Until she walked in. Karen Holtz, in her early 30s, with neatly pinned blonde hair and a navy blue uniform, so crisp it looked like it had been starched into shape. Karen exuded the kind of rigid professionalism that came from years of repetition and simmering frustration. Her smile was tight, rehearsed. Her eyes, though, flickered with disdain when she noticed Marcus. Maybe it was the way he looked, too polished, too confident. Maybe it was the quiet authority he carried like second skin. Or maybe it was something else. Something she didn't have a name for, but felt in her gut. Whatever it was, Marcus saw it too. The flicker of judgment in her eyes. He brushed it off, opened the in-flight menu, and pressed the call button. Karen arrived moments later, her footsteps brisk, her smile already fading. "Yes," she asked flatly. "Just a coffee. Black." "When you get a moment," Marcus replied smoothly, his voice deep and composed. She nodded curtly and turned, but not before muttering under her breath, "Figures he'd want black." The words sliced through him like ice. Marcus's jaw clenched. He'd heard comments like that before too many times. Still, he remained calm. He'd built an empire on self-control. He leaned slightly forward. "Excuse me," he said evenly. Karen turned, her eyes narrowing. "Nothing, sir." But he knew, and she knew that he knew. When the coffee came a few minutes later, it wasn't in a secure cup holder. As she handed it over, the plane hit a minor jolt on the runway. The coffee tip spilling directly into Marcus's lap. Scalding heat burned through his trousers. He hissed, barely managing to contain a curse. But what burned more than the coffee was the smug satisfaction in Karen's voice. "Oops. Guess I slipped." Passengers glanced over. Some smirked. Others averted their eyes. Marcus grabbed a napkin, dabbing at his lap, holding the fire bubbling just beneath the surface. "You didn't slip," he said quietly. "You did that on purpose." Karen folded her arms. "Maybe you should have been more careful," she said with a small shrug. The plane lifted off. Altitude climbing. So was his rage. Later, he pressed the call button again. She returned, jaw tight. "Yes. I'd like a replacement," he said, holding up the soaked napkin. "For the coffee you spilled." Her mouth twitched. "You're pushing your luck, buddy." "I'm not your buddy," Marcus replied. "Do your job." That's what happened. Her hand cracked across his face. Gasps filled the cabin. Passengers froze. A man in a baseball cap fumbled for his phone, already recording. Marcus turned back to Karen, his cheeks stinging, his voice quiet but dangerous. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." She didn't blink, just sneered and turned away. But it was far from over. Captain Richard Dunn, mid-50s, ex-military, all jawline and judgment was summoned. Karen was already spinning her version of events. That Marcus had been disruptive, aggressive, threatening. "He slapped me with his words," she whispered, eyes wide and teary. "I didn't feel safe." Marcus stood tall as Dunn approached, looming like a wall of institutional power. "We've had a complaint," Dunn growled. "Show me your ID." Marcus pulled out his driver's license. Dunn examined it briefly, scoffed, and called ground control. "Flagging a security risk in first class," he said calmly into his radio. Marcus stared. Security risk? I'm the CEO of this airline. But Dunn wasn't listening. Karen's lie had taken root. Moments later, his phone and ID were confiscated. Even his watch backup recording device was ripped from his wrist and smashed. Then came the intercom. Attention passengers. Due to a security concern in first class, we're alerting the FBI. Please remain seated. The panic spread like wildfire. A woman threw a magazine at him. A man shoved him into his seat. A kid screamed. Another hurled gum. A mob formed. One even tried to restrain him. And then came the pepper spray. Karen, wielding a canister, blasted Marcus full in the face. Blind, coughing, tears streaming, Marcus tried to stand, but Dunn tackled him back in his seat and cuffed him. The crowd cheered. Even as he choked on chemicals and humiliation, he knew this wasn't about a coffee. This was about power, and the lie they crafted was spreading like a virus. In Boise, they landed. FBI agents waited. He was dragged off in cuffs. The digital ID badge he'd hidden slipped from his pocket, crushed under an agent's boot. The headline screamed, CEO or terrorist? He was dumped in a holding cell, beaten by guards, and mocked. One even spit in his face. But Marcus wasn't done. He'd managed to upload footage from his hidden pen cam before it was destroyed. Raw video of Karen slapping him, Richard cuffing him, the guards beating him. Lena, his longtime ally and legal director, released it to the world. The internet erupted. The slap, the lies, the racism. Old Bora. The board reinstated him. Karen's uncle, the shadowy board member who had been trying to oust Marcus for years, was exposed. Arrested for conspiracy and fraud. But just as Marcus thought it was over, Karen appeared one final time. At the safe house, deranged and bleeding, she kicked open the door and fired a gun. The bullet missed Marcus by inches. She was subdued and arrested, screaming his name. The footage was undeniable. The truth, unshakable. Marcus sold Horizon Wings for $3 billion the next day. He walked away from the empire he'd built not in defeat, but on his terms. His final message to the world? I built this to fly above hate. And now I'm free.